All right. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to the show for the Adventurous Wine Drinker. We are Anu and Igor. We're the owners of vinousreverie Wine Merchant out in Walnut Creek, California. And we have a fun little shop around the corner.
Yes.
And we do wine tasting reviews every Friday. So thanks for joining us. And let's get started. So let me just showcase what we're having today. Why don't you tell us what we have?
Yes. So we are having Fattoria La Pupille, Morellino di Scansano. So it's the Sangiovese based wine from Tuscany. So, maybe we'll start a little bit about the grape.
Okay.
So
what's the grape?
Sangiovese. So Sangiovese based blend.
Okay.
There's a little bit of Alicante and Ciliegiolo. Funny name.
Spit it out.
Ciliegiolo.
Okay.
So it's one of the indigenous grape to Tuscany. But Sangiovese is the most planted grape in Italy. It's mostly grown in central Italy. Mm-hmm. In 1990, it was 10% of all grapes grown in Italy were Sangiovese-based grapes. Mm-hmm. And it's a grape that has 240 different clones. So there's a lot of different clones, and it goes by a lot of different names. Here are some of the names. So obviously Sangiovese, Brunello, Prugnolo, Morellino, which is the grape right here, mm-hmm. and Neluccio, just a few of the names that Sangiovese goes by.
I don't think I've ever heard any of them except for Brunello, but...
Yeah, and Brunello is the most famous Sangiovese-based wine. Mm-hmm. It's from the town Montalcino, and it's considered... Montalcino.
That's a fun one to say.
It's along with Barolo is probably the two most famous wines.
Italian wines.
And Barbaresco. They call it the killer bees. The
Barbaresco, Barolo, and Brunello.
The three Bs, yeah. So this so that's Brunello, also based on Sangiovese grape. So Sangiovese grape could be very hard and acidic, mm-hmm. And frequently it needs like a blending partner, which is this case the grape, like I said, Ciliegiolo, that is used to kind of soften and sweeten it up.
Okay.
And the other thing is they're using small barriques to age them with the same concept. They want to kind of tame the hard acidity of the grape.
Okay.
And limestone, from a lot of what states, it kind of gives it elegance better than most other soil. So that's a fun fact about it, how soil impacts the particular grape variety. In this case,
so limestone is definitely part of the soil where this is grown.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a thin skin, which it could get easily get fungal disease, but it's also long growing season, mm-hmm. and it's late ripening. And one of the interesting things about it, we were talking about how soil imparts its impact on the wine. Weather also does so too. So in hot vintages, it gives rich, alcoholic, long-lived wines. Mm-hmm. But in cold vintages, you get hard acidity and hard tannins. That's why, especially with Brunellos, they're looking at vintages and they're looking at vintage conditions and they're kind of guesstimating how the expression of majority of the grapes will be. So the good growing season versus, not so good growing season. So obviously, a hotter vintage theoretically would make more
wine.
Complex, more interesting wines. Yes. So that's a little overview of the grape.
Okay.
And another cool part is the Maremma, the sub-region of Tuscany.
Okay.
So here we have, a really cool map. I mean, I wish you could get a close-up. As you can see, all the multicolors, it's the sub-regions. So we have Montalcino, we have the Chianti regions, and then we have the Tuscan coast right here. So
and Maremma means like of the sea, right? So
yes, it comes from the word mare. As sea. So it's the southern coast of Tuscany and Bulgaria region, which is a little northern. It's different than Maremma, but it's also part of the Tuscan coast. And Bulgaria is known for Sassicaia. So Sassicaia is what put this whole Tuscany on the map. Yeah, right. It's the first famous super Tuscan. So Maremma, it's a little more down south, and there's three appellations. So Val di Cornia, there's Montecucco, and Morellino di Scansano, which is where the wine comes for this winery. So it's Maremma actually has a pretty cool history. The Etruscans were cultivating vines there in the forest, in like 300 BC.
Okay.
So and then then the Greeks moved in. And
they're always moving in.
Well, they were moving in for the wine.
Okay.
So it had a rich wine history.
Okay.
So even before the Romans, and obviously the Romans, a lot of the emperors were within the Maremma. Where they had the best vineyards. So it was like a wine capital of the world at one point in time. And then after the collapse of the Roman Empire and the Middle Ages wars, the region kind of was abandoned. And actually. It became, in the 19th century, it was swampy and malarial.
Okay.
And it was, and Italians actually did not want to do anything with the region.
Right.
So it's funny how, the same region, and it changes over, a long history of time, but still how it went from, a classic region to nobody wanted to do anything. And then in 1970s, basically, as I was mentioning earlier, Sassicaia was the first big wine that came from that region that took
the wine world by storm.
Everybody took notice. And since the 90s, a lot of big companies started investing both in Bulgaria and Maremma, so the Tuscan coast towns. And so a lot of investment went into that, and they were looking for super Tuscans. So super Tuscans, I think a lot of people associate it with high quality Tuscan. Oh, it's super Tuscan wine.
But that's not necessarily the case. It just has a specific meaning.
Maybe double meaning, because super also means outside. So what they were doing is they were using grapes that were outside of the rules of the appellation. And they were using international grapes, mostly Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Syrah, etc. So outside of kind of the Sangiovese norm. So a lot of these super Tuscans are basically either Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot based blends.
Okay.
So in fact, Fattoria La Pupille, this winery, their most famous wine, Safredi, it's a super Tuscan that's based on, there's actually no Sangiovese in that blend. It's a Cabernet Merlot blend with a little bit of Alicante, Syrah, or Petit Verdot. Okay. So that's their most famous wine. That's the one that gets all the highest scores. But this, this is from Morellino di Scansano. This is a Sangiovese based wine. So this is, based on a classic grape. And it's let's taste the wine, and then I think maybe we'll talk a little bit about the winery. I mean, I think we gave a lot of overview about the grape and the region.
Yeah, so. No, this is a great wine. I tasted it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And it's a balanced Sangiovese, and it's a delicious. Well, I saw that James Suckling gave it 93 points. Robert Parker, I guess he fell asleep on this one because he gave it 90. I think it's much better than that. But yeah, I said plum, cherry. Just a little bit of bittersweet chocolate and like walnuts. It's a very nice wine. It smells very savory. If you smell it, it has a really nice savory kind of meaty smell, and also kind of finishes that way too. Yeah. So it's very nice.
Very pleasant, and the acidity doesn't overwhelm. So it's a cool wine. So actually, the owner of the winery is her name is Elisabetta Geppetti, and actually
it's a woman-owned winery.
It's a woman-owned winery, and she's a pioneer. So when she was 21 years old, her uncle, who did not want to, he owned some vineyards, and he didn't want to do anything with the wine. He gave her the land, and she kind of fell in love with it. She dropped out of the university and started working on the land. So in mid 80s, they had about 10 acres of vines that they started working with, and then now it's 180 acres. So they've kind of grown, and they started with actually with this wine, Morellino di Scansano.
This one,
yeah. Safredi came in, 8 or 9 years later. So their famous Super Tuscan was not the original.
This is the original blend. Okay, well that's great.
So they had this blend, they had the Reserva, and then after Safredi, they actually got Poggio Valente, which is another famous wine in their kind of, in the sort of their cuvées. Okay. That's very nice. So yeah, she's she was the first woman to be the president of the Consortium of Morellino di Scansano, and they actually nicknamed her, what was her nickname? Lady of Morellino. And she's kind of considered the ambassador of Maremma. So that's the most famous estate in southern Tuscany, and she had a very high reputation. Like we said, her wines are highly acclaimed.
Okay. Well, this is great. This is a great wine to have just a few days after International Women's Day.
Exactly. That's a good tie-in. And, she had a pretty nice quote. She was basically saying how she fell in love with wine when she was 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And she got her passion from her grandfather. But then she said, but you develop the passion... That's the beginning, but then you develop the passion for the land yourself. Mm-hmm. And she was basically saying how the wine is the product of the land and the generations that came from before that. So it's a very kind of beautiful quote that she had about how she's dedicated to making high quality because she just loves and respects the land where the wines come from. So
you hear that a lot from very winemakers that are very passionate. They care about the land, they care about the grapes. They're not really their focus is quality as opposed to just producing.
I mean, I'm guessing the Gallows when they make Jug Chablis and Red Burgundies with the same passion.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I just want to say this is a delicious wine. This is an excellent example of Sangiovese. So if you walk around stores and you're scared of foreign labels, we have a safe place for you, and this is an excellent wine to have.
Well, and this obviously was a part of our March wine club.
Yes, our wine club. Which actually, why don't we talk about our wine club a little bit? So that's a really great way, I think, to experience wines from our shop, and you just kind of have unique wines, and it's a curated club. So you get a little guide with each of them. And what's the name of our wine club?
The League of Extraordinary Wine Drinkers.
Wow, what a great name. And, I wonder who came up with that name.
It was you.
Yes, I know.
For once.
Oh, burn. Okay, great. Well, that's a great wine club wine. And, I think this is a great example.
Yeah, it's just uniqueness. We look wine club wines. Try to introduce people who are predominantly, California drinking wines to something new. Mm-hmm. And you never know, you could find your new favorite wine through these selections. For example, this month we had all Italian wines. Mm-hmm. So in our Adventurers Club, which is the entry-level club, you can have 2 whites, 2 reds, or a mix. Mm-hmm. So this is part of obviously the mix and the reds.
Okay, so you can kind of customize. So if you're only like a white wine person, you pick whichever makes sense to you.
But like I said, Italy was kind of the theme for the month, and the white wines we had from Garganega in the Veneto region, which is kind of the famous white grape from that region. Volcanic soils, beautiful. Yes. We love volcanic soil wines, and you guys never tasted volcanic soil wines. I think that's quite an experience. Another one I think was even more fun. It's Caricante blend from Lipari, which is an island north coast of Sicily. That's also all volcanic.
Yes, I did. I remember that. Yeah.
They specialize in their delicious sweet wines. Yes. But this was actually a dry wine. So once again, 2 wines with volcanic soils. It's just amazing. Obviously, we had the Sangiovese. Another thing was Montepulciano di Abruzzo. Yes. So if you want pronouncing fun names.
I love pronouncing Montepulciano.
Yeah, from Tiberio, from one of the best producers in the Abruzzo region. Yes. So I think spectacular selections.
And hard to find, right? You cannot find these, everywhere. This isn't a big box store wine. These are rare finds, so.
Yeah, awesome. International wines, the wine world is so vast. I think if you're not tasting wines outside of your comfort zone, you're missing out. So I think this club is like
quality wines. I think that's the thing. Yeah. People are like, "Oh, I've had a Sangiovese once. I didn't like it." I'm like, "Well, I don't know what you had, but I think probably wasn't a good example. But this is a great one." So.
Yeah. Then the quality is important. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I mean, a cool wine. You guys check it out. You don't have to join the club to taste this particular wine, but joining the club I think is even more fun and.
You get some benefits there too, yeah.
Well, you get benefits and you get to be part of the league.
Yeah, this is why I chose the name. You could run around telling people you're part of a league, but
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the best sounding club out there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. You just watched the show for the Adventurous Wine Drinker.
Yes.
And, follow us on Instagram. Going forward, all of our live shows are going to be on Instagram. It's just a lot more fun there when we have guests. You can see them on video. You can't do that on Facebook.
Yeah, more interactive, and we're going to be posting on Facebook right afterwards. It's just not going to be live.
Yeah,
the live shows are going to be on Instagram.
So if you guys like to watch us on Facebook, it'll be there eventually. But if you want to join us live, check us out on Instagram, vinousreverie.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
And remember, drink different.
All right. Bye.